Good morning, boys and girls. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. It is day 10 of our life cycle of a chicken unit, which lasts for how many days? 21 days. So we are almost halfway through. Today is an exciting day. We're going to mainly be talking about the day that the chicks hatch. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the very beginning of what we started learning. Every day you have been learning new vocabulary words and what the embryo looks like on the inside of the brain, the inside of the egg, and what is developing. And so on day one, the head, brains, and eyes began to form. You had these three vocabulary words to use in your writing: incubator, chicken, eggs. Every day we have reviewed these vocabulary words. You've used them in sentences and talking to your friends. You've gone home and talked to them, to adults in your home. And so you have learned so many new words to incorporate into your writing and into your speaking. On day two, we learned that a female chicken is called a hen. We learned that a rooster is a male chicken, and we've used this word a lot this year: observe, to watch carefully. On day two, the vein and heart began to form, and the heart began to beat. You guys wrote hilarious stories about the heart saying da-doom, 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 and what that could have possibly been inside the egg. Day three, we learned embryo is the earliest stages of development. That's what you call the baby inside the egg as it's developing. Rotate, we learned how the incubator rotates the eggs back and forth, why it does that, so that the embryo doesn't get stuck to one side, and it protects that air sac at the top. On day three, the beak, wings, and legs begin to form. Let's look at day four. On day four, already you see the tongue beginning to form. Again, you're taking information and putting it into a funny narrative story. So when you wrote about the tongue, remember we talked about feeling something wet and wondering what that wet thing was in your mouth. We learned that a nest is a place made out of straw, and the life cycle. We've looked at several life cycles this year with the caterpillar, the pumpkin back in October with Pumpkin Jack, and now the chicken. We are day five. We learned that our embryo became male or female on that day. We used the word roost as a verb to sit on the eggs. That's what it's called when a hen claims a clutch of eggs and then she sits on them. She becomes the mom, even though she may not be the mom of all of these eggs, because they're all different colors, means that they came from all different breeds. Day five, we talked about the word brood. That's what we call a group of chickens after they hatch, and then we put the chickens in a brooder box. We've been talking about this egg tooth that begins to form on the outside part of their beak, and that helps them to get out when it is time to hatch. On day seven, we looked at the air sac, that pocket of air that is provided at the top of the blunt end, which does not mean sharp. The blunt end means rounded, dull. That air sac up at the top, the blunt end of the egg, is the air that they breathe on the way out when they're hatching. Remember, that process of hatching takes a long time. On day seven, the legs and wings begin to form. On day eight, the feathers begin to form. We talked about them using their beak to pick up food, to eat, to get out of this shell. The shell is the hard outer covering of an egg. Day nine, yesterday, we talked again about the egg tooth, the part of the beak that's only there for about 24 hours to help the baby chick get out of this egg as they're pipping and zipping. The mouth opening began to appear yesterday when we were candling our eggs. You could actually see some of the chicks' beaks moving. So fascinating. And today what we're going to look at is the hatching process. So on today, you are going to use this word hatch. We have added a suffix at the end, hatching. That means they're doing it right now. So we're going to take this suffix off and use just the root word hatch today, which means a chick starting to break out of its shell. I want you to look at this picture of a chicken who is hatching. He kind of looks gross, doesn't he? Do you remember when our caterpillars formed their chrysalis, and then they started trying to get out of the chrysalis. It kind of looked like that, didn't it? It was a very tedious, hard, long process for them. Could we reach inside our butterfly net and pull the chrysalis off of them and help them get their wings free? Why could we not do that? Why could we not give them any help in the process of getting out? So that's what I want you to think about today, because on day 10, the beak begins to harden, and we're getting ready to see this process of them hatching. We've talked a lot about pipping and zipping. Pipping and zipping is when they take that egg tooth and they start using it like a hammer to knock a little hole in the shell, right? And then they make a little hole right next to that one, and they unzip the egg. That's why it's called pipping and zipping. So they might take their little nose and bang a little hole in the shell there, right? And then they do another one and another one. And then when they get finished, it's almost like unzipping this egg, and that's why we call it pipping and zipping. And then the egg falls apart, the baby chick comes out. That takes about a full day. It is about 24 hours before they are out of the shell and hatched completely. And then they are exhausted, right? And they have to stay in the shell another 24 hours before they are able to actually come out of the incubator. What we're going to do this morning is I'm going to show you a group of eggs, and we're going to watch this process of them hatching. We've talked a lot about it. Let's see if we can actually watch it, okay? I'm going to turn the volume down just a little bit so we can talk over it. They have a lot of eggs inside this incubator. Do you see these places where they've started pipping and zipping? Here's one who has finished the process. 12 hours probably it took him to get about halfway through there. Then see how when he gets his head out, he starts pecking at it to get the rest of it away. This one is pipping and zipping. This one is pipping and zipping. This one is. And remember yesterday we talked about how we could hear them inside chirping to one another. And so when one or two gets out, they'll start helping the others get out. And just by making noises, the others will be curious to want to come out as well. This is the hatching process. I'm going to scoot ahead just a little bit so we can watch a few others come on out. Look at there. Doesn't he look pitiful? Remember we said he's wet, he's tired. It's going to take him a little while to get all dried out and recovered from that hatching process. And then look, after about 12 hours in the incubator with the air drying on them, this is what they look like, all fluffed up, ready to come out. How exciting. Okay, boys and girls, today is day 10. We have 11 days left. How exciting.